So we just got out of my appointment with the radiation oncologist, and I think the consensus is we like him.
Yeah.
Did you say?
I think so.
The nurse was telling us before we met him that he's a long-distance cyclist. And I was thinking, okay, good, I like him already. So, especially that, it's funny that he didn't bring up that he, yeah, and I did. Well, you know what, because I knew that it was open. Because I knew that about him, I felt comfortable saying, he was asking me, like, am I able to do my own errands, like, do my work, and I was like, yeah. I feel like, you know, different. It was, I tried trying to give a picture of how physically active I'm able to be. I was saying, like, you know, at this point in the year I might have been doing a 70-mile bike ride, but instead I'm doing like a 40-mile bike ride. And I could say that to him because he wasn't going to be overly impressed with those numbers or concerned about those numbers.
Yeah,
because he knows what that means. And if you're not a cyclist and those numbers sound really incredible to you, that's because you've never ridden on the kind of bikes we get to use. They're so lightweight and streamlined, and the tires are skinny and fast. And if you're at all tempted or excited by the idea, just get yourself one. It's really fun. Become a cyclist. It's fun, and it's not as hard as running. It's not as hard on your body. Anyway, that was a tangent, but I can't remember what I was saying. That we liked him.
I think we liked him. I think he felt a little, he felt unguarded.
Unguarded?
Like he wasn't invested in what the decision was, really. He just wanted to make sure your questions were answered and give you the straight information.
And also he wasn't, like the other guy that we saw originally, felt like he was a salesman for radiation. And this guy felt like, yeah, you know what, we don't know if it improves your overall survival. And we know it improves your rate of local recurrence in the first 10 years. But there's also this increased chance of getting another secondary cancer because of the radiation itself. And that's very real. The chance is slight, but the fact that I'm younger, you know, actually, in his mind, leads to a greater risk, because it's maybe 40, 50 years down the road that I might...
Yeah.
So anyway, I actually said, it sounds like you're making a case for not doing radiation. What was his response to that? Remember what he said? But he wasn't saying, no. But he didn't, when I said that, he didn't deny it.
I think he acknowledged the limits of it and the risks of it.
Yeah.
In a clearer way than maybe we'd heard before.
Yeah. So it made me feel like I had to think it all through again. But then I said to him, well, but when I brought up a similar question with the first doctor that we'd seen, I asked him, what I asked him was, how does my age factor into the thinking about this? And then he talked about the greater possible potential of me getting a secondary cancer down the road because I'm gonna, you know, I have longer to live potentially.
Right.
And I feel like I have to cry because it just, I mean, I want it to mean something, and in a way, like, I resist letting it mean anything, but, like, remembering him saying things like, you know, that I'm going to be fine, I'm going to get through it, and that, you know, there's a very, very good chance that I'm going to not have more cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just really hard to sit there and make plans to do something carcinogenic, you know, and to listen to all the things that can happen, and the scar tissue and the pain, and the possible long-term pain, because you can get scar tissue, your muscles get inflamed and stuff. Is it hard for you?
Yeah.
To listen to?
No, in some ways, his description of the side effects was scarier.
Yeah.
I think they were more vivid, and, you know, he talked about actual patients.
Yeah.
that he's working with who have experienced
Right, and
some
the
pretty
lymphedema.
bad side effects.
And like the other guy was like, but I never seen it. I've never seen it. The risk is very low, is what he kept saying about all the bad side effects. And this guy was like, I've had a couple of, like one patient who had such pain from the scarring. She'd had a lumpectomy and she went back and had a mastectomy because the pain was so debilitating. We want the window down? Yeah, it's getting a little hot. I'll do it. Somehow I always like the warmth because it just feels very like being hugged or something, you know. Just feel it's protected or something. It's hard. And also, instead of saying I have 5 weeks of radiation, he said 5.5 weeks. And I'm pretty sure the other guy said 25 days, and he's saying 28 days of radiation. But anyway, the other thing that was nice to hear is he looked at my scars and was like really seemed to be very pleased.
Very pleased.
With
You should
the
have seen, I
healing.
don't know if you saw his face, but he was like beautiful. It was just like
There's
really,
no thickening.
really
or no.
enjoying how well you had healed.
And that was good to hear.
Yeah.
It's always brings up emotion when, especially when a man, the doctor, is examining me. I don't know. It's embarrassing that it makes a difference what their gender is, but I just feel more vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know the context was about how well a wounded healed, not about my body being beautiful, but still, that's the way it feels. Like I'm being told something on me is beautiful. You know, once we get out of the realm of intellectual, like, information gathering and into, like, where something might be hard or there's an emotional thing, it just makes me want to start crying. You know, like, just having, like, I think the first time I felt like crying in there was when, after he talked about the risks from the radiation, cancer and stuff, and it wasn't like the information was going to make me cry, even though those were where the emotions were coming from. It was when he just sat, made a face like you could tell it was like, yeah, this is hard.
Yeah.
Like just leaving a moment there. It's kind of weird though that he handed me the tissues and then he kept on talking to you, answering my question but looking only at you, and it's like finally I had to interrupt because I was like so distracted by that body dynamic that I wasn't listening to what he was saying. So I said, can you back up? And then he started over and looked at me, answering my question. I don't know, it's funny. And the only other thing I want to say right now is that I am just so glad I have a good, supportive husband. I can't imagine going through this without that. I feel for all the people who go through hard things without a partner. I've heard myself at one point talking about this appointment today, ahead of the appointment, saying, oh, I said to Jim, our appointment tomorrow, and I heard myself say it, and I realized, thank you, and I told him that it feels good that would come out of my mouth, that it was our appointment, that we are going through this, and he was saying, yeah, it is our appointment. So that was a nice feeling. So now I think I'm going to turn this off and cry for a few minutes. Unless you want to say anything else. Okay.